Good morning. For those who may not know me, my name is Billy, he, they pronouns, and today Kaleidoscope Collective have been invited to serve as your worship associates of this, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charleston. We welcome all of you. Whether you're a friend, an ally of the LGBTQ community, or someone who may be here for their first time, we invite you to join us today to celebrate the memory and life of Christine Jorgenson. If you came here today curious as to who this person was, we hope that you leave here today with a greater understanding of who she was and how her life was significant to us in the LGBTQ community. At this time, we would like everyone, if you feel comfortable doing so, to greet those around you with the UUC's welcome song.
Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
At this time, we would like to remind everyone to please check your insert for goings-on here at UUC for this coming week. We do have 4 announcements that we would like to share at this time. The first announcement is that Kaleidoscope Collective and Spiral Moongrove have been invited to the Broom Not Vroom event that is being hosted by Metro Valley Pagan Pride on September 27th at Valley Park in Hurricane, West Virginia. The event is from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., and we are going to be passing out flyers and water at a table there, while Spiral Moon Grove is hosting the Kids Corner. If you are interested in donating water, volunteering at a table, or helping out at the Kids Corner after service, please let Brian McNeamer know. The second announcement is that on October 4th, Bob is hosting another trivia night here at UUC at 7 p.m. Wine, prizes, and snacks will be available. If you would like to compete in the trivia night, teams of 4 are needed with an entry fee of $20 per person. 15 per person? Correction, 15 per person. The third announcement is that UUC is hosting an interactive Rocky Horror Picture Show showing with call lines, props, and a costume contest. Refreshments will be available for purchase, and a love donation of $20 will be requested with refreshment available for purchase. This performance is on October 18th. We're looking for volunteers for this fundraiser, so please contact Jamie Edwards if you're interested. And then our fourth announcement, you may have read the email messages to our Google group this past week about covenant groups. A covenant group is a form of small group ministry that's common in Unitarian Universalism. It brings people together to consider life experiences and ideas. It is not a discussion or debate. It doesn't offer religious lessons or therapy. It is a time for sharing thoughts and deep listening. Please come to our 11 o'clock service next Sunday to try a covenant group experience. If it appeals to you, we hope you will consider joining a group.
As John lights our chalice, please join us in reading the unison information. Love is greater of our faith than the service of the law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace and seek love, and help one another. And at this time, we would ask everyone to rise and voice, body, and spirit, or spirit, if they're willing and able, for the hymn 347.
Our separate fires trials in life appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind. Seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscious refined. Body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in strength, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, a chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in strength, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Let's take this time to connect with one another and share thoughts, vibes from our hearts. Here are today's joys and concerns that are in everyone's hearts today. The first joy is a family member was married yesterday. Congratulations to their union. The second one is Scout got a bath, and they did a little heart emoji. And the third one is welcome to Reverend Ollie Snow. All right. The concerns today is turmoil over the death of Charlie Kirk and reactions. There have been many, for anyone who's from the LGBT community, you all will understand. And I do have a personal one. It's family, friends, and coworkers, medical conditions and concerns. I know a lot of people who aren't doing well right now. So for all the joys that are shared, may they be multiplied, and for all the concerns that were voiced or unvoiced, may they be diminished. So today's introduction to offering is by Paul Dalzell. This is actually his words, and it's to say yes. So the offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people, as much as a ritual as singing together or lighting our chalice. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith.
It's time to please plant your feet squarely on the floor, relax your shoulders, and close your eyes. Our meditation today is That Quiet Power Within Us by J.E. Abernathy Jr. Let us join in a moment dedicated to that quiet power within us. It is within that we find the will to face the world. It is within that we find the love to embrace the world. It is within that we find our personal identity and know the world. Yet within us is also a great void. We feel this void at times of great loneliness, frustration, and despair. Sorrow, hatred, and greed, too, are within us. Just as we need to be alone at times to put things right, so too do we need to be with others to love and be loved. This great social urge also is within us as powerfully as that separateness, that uniqueness that gives us identity. Let us look within ourselves with honesty and trust. We shall find there a personal center important to who we are. We shall find there something held in common with those about us, family, friends, neighbors, and in ever-widening circles until we find that which we have in common with all people, something irreducibly human, something completely natural. This is the center of all religion, all love, all concern for others, and it is the center of all personal growth. May these few moments be a personal time for you, a time for that person within you who feels at one with humanity, with nature, and with all the universe that was, is, and shall be. So mote it be.
All right. On May 30th, 1926, Christine Jorgenson was born. She was the second child of George William Jorgenson and Florence Davis Hanson. She was raised in the Belmont neighborhood of Bronx, New York, and was baptized as a Lutheran. She has always described herself as a frail, blonde, introverted little child who ran from fights and the rough and tumble games. In 1945, she graduated from Christopher Columbus High School and was soon drafted into the U.S. Army at 19 to do clerical work. She was then discharged about a year later. She attended the Mohawk Valley Community College in Utica, New York, and the Progressive School of Photography in New Haven, and the Manhattan Medical and Dental Assistant School in New York City. She also worked briefly for the Path News. After her discharge from the Army, and upon returning to New York City, she heard about sex reassignment surgeries, and in 1951, you might recognize the year, that's the same year UUC was founded. She stayed in Denmark and started undergoing hormone replacement therapy, HRT, under Christian Hamburger's direction. More than a year later, after beginning HRT, she underwent a series of sex reassignment surgeries, and upon returning back to the United States after the surgeries, she launched a successful career of nightclub acts, radio, television, and theatrical productions, and was the first trans woman to perform at the legendary Del Monte's restaurant in New York City. In her 1967 autobiography, Jorgenson revealed her struggles with depression. She explained how her mental health deteriorated and led her to contemplate suicide, but did not act on it. She wrote, "The answer to the problem must not lie in sleeping pills and suicides that look like accidents or in jail sentences." Those words are true even to this day. But the answer's rather in life and freedom to live it. When her story was covered by New York Daily News, she became an instant celebrity, known for her directness and Polish wit. She was an advocate for transgender rights and persons. Throughout her career, she gave lectures at colleges and universities on the topics of transgenderism, and she died of bladder and lung cancer on May 3rd, 1989, at the age of 62. Her ashes were scattered off Dana Point in California.
Transgender people in the United States are still facing discrimination to this day. We face discrimination in employment, housing, and healthcare access, leading to higher rates of poverty, homelessness, and violence. Many of us that we have spoken with personally have experienced verbal and physical attacks. Many face difficulties in public spaces, are forced to conceal their identity at work, and are denied gender-affirming care or have difficulty accessing it due to lack of insurance and provider refusal. Additionally, legislative efforts in our state and the federal government restrict access to gender-affirming care, restrict participation in sports, and target education on gender identity. When health care is restricted for minorities, then it could be restricted for everyone. At this time, we would like to invite Reverend Ollie Snow from the Mothman Ministries up to speak to the congregation.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having me here. You will see the title of a sermon in your pamphlet. That is not the sermon I will be delivering today. Instead, I will be delivering a sermon called Bullshit, a eulogy for Charlie Kirk. On September 10th of this year, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and when this happened, I prayed for his soul. This was, in hindsight, a mistake. Not the prayer itself, because I think that's the bare minimum you can do when you're a Christian and someone dies. There's a reason thoughts and prayers seem so hollow. It's because they are. It's the smallest possible gesture towards someone's humanity one can possibly give. And so I prayed my hollow little prayer for Charlie Kirk. I said, God, give Charlie Kirk more mercy than Charlie Kirk gave the world. But here's why I call it a mistake. Because when you pray, it is a two-way line. Which means sometimes God tells you to do stuff you don't want to do. And God told me that I was going to write a eulogy for Charlie Kirk. To which I responded, absolutely not. No way am I doing that. I am trans. I am not writing a eulogy for some Nazi. Kiss my ass. But here's the thing. I have had enough Jonah and the fish moments to know that running from God is pretty much impossible, and that God has a terrible habit of scooping you up and spitting you out on the shores of Nineveh, whether you like it or not. My Nineveh was Charlie Kirk, and my big fish was that for the past several days, I have woken up every morning weeping for Charlie Kirk. Something that objectively did not make any sense to me. I was not someone who knew this man, and I certainly wasn't a fan of the way he spent his life, so I couldn't figure out why I felt this immense grief. I told myself it was because his children were fatherless. I told myself it was because of the legacy of hate he left behind. I told myself it was because no one should die from gun violence. I told myself so many lies about why I kept crying. I told myself a whole load of bullshit. And as this is happening, I'm doom scrolling through social media, and I begin to realize everyone else is also bullshitting. The right-wingers are talking about what a brave truth seeker he was and how he was martyred for his Christian faith. The liberals are going, now I didn't see eye to eye with Charlie, but we need to maintain peace through our political disagreements and not speak ill of the dead. There are loads and loads of disingenuous thoughts and prayers. My own community of leftists and trans people are painting him as a subhuman monster. And that's what I thought of him too. I didn't want to write Charlie Kirk a eulogy because I didn't want to see the face of God in Charlie Kirk. I didn't want to see Charlie Kirk as human. I wanted Charlie Kirk and his memory to stay in his Nazi box, away from civilized society. I wanted this man to forget this man ever even existed, and if he was remembered, I wanted him to be remembered as a twisted monstrosity. I wanted to be the righteous one in this situation. I wanted to be the good, noble person in contrast to his evil. But then, as I was washing a car at work, I was listening to Pastrix by Nadia Bolz-Weber on audiobook. I had stopped right in the middle of a sentence the last time I was listening, and the first thing I heard when I put on my headphones and pressed play were these words. There's a popular misconception about religion that it helps us know the difference between good and evil, but good has never set me free the way truth has. Jesus didn't contrast good and evil. He contrasted evil with the truth. And right there, covered in dirt and sweat and soap from the car wash, I finally said, "Fine, God, I'll write the damn eulogy." Because it was in that moment I realized something. For his entire career, Charlie Kirk framed himself as a truth seeker, but never actually succeeded in telling the truth in any capacity. In fact, I'm not sure I heard Charlie Kirk tell the truth on a single occasion. And because Charlie Kirk spent his life as a liar, he was completely surrounded by other people willing to uphold his lies. I have to give Charlie Kirk an honest eulogy, because no one else is going to. Because so many people are trying to be good right now. They're trying to be good Republicans, good Democrats, good leftists, good Christians, good allies, one of the good ones. They're trying to save face or look cool to their friends or not speak ill of the dead, and everyone is trying so hard to be good, they've forgotten to be honest. They're trying so hard to uphold social norms that they've stopped realizing the systems of oppression they are upholding. They become so desensitized to violence that they've forgotten to grapple with the complexity of it. And so I, a transgendered, am going to give Charlie Kirk a eulogy. I'm going to give a eulogy for a man who hated me without ever knowing me, who wanted me dead by nature of who I am. This act of genuine compassion would undoubtedly horrify him, especially since he believed empathy made you weak. It would especially horrify him to have this eulogy spoken at a service where he is a footnote in a service for a trans woman. But this compassion is genuine. I'm not doing this out of spite or to roast him, though it is tempting. I am not doing this to look good to anyone. In fact, I'm fairly sure that of all the sermons I've ever done, this one is probably the one that will make the most people angry at me. I'm doing this because the truth will set us free. And while Charlie Kirk claimed he spent his whole life searching for the truth, he did not spend one quiet second listening for it. Some people will call him a hero. Others will downplay how bad his ideology was by calling it a difference of opinion. Some will offer disingenuous thoughts and prayers to save face. Others will treat him as inhuman or deserving of what happened to him, but all of those are spiritually dishonest. Charlie Kirk was an awful, brutal man. He believed terrible, cruel things, and he spread them online like wildfire. Charlie Kirk believed that the civil rights movement was a mistake, that Muslims would cause the fall of civilization, and that transgender people should be taken care of like they were in the 50s. His target demographic for his online presence was impressionable, lonely young men and boys who had become disillusioned with the world around them. Charlie Kirk believed in death. He believed in torture. He believed that some humans mattered less than others. He was anti-kindness, anti-empathy, anti-humanity. That is the reality of who Charlie Kirk was, and no amount of lying to oneself can make him anything other than that. Not the fact that he spoke clearly, not the fact that he had a nice suit, not the fact that he had a wife and children, or the fact that he had the ear of the president. This is a man whose final word was violence. That was the word he lived and died for. Now let me be very clear. Because I am a Christian, I personally am a pacifist. However, when it comes to political violence, I've always struggled with certain circumstances. For example, is it justified for a slave to kill his master to free himself? Was what John Brown did justified? If Hitler had not taken himself out, would his execution have been warranted? We often think of these questions in terms of evil or righteousness. I do not believe that is the correct framing. I do not think these moments in history can be looked at through this lens because I fundamentally think that asking, is this good or evil, is too simplistic. We must not be tempted in these situations to contrast good and evil. We must contrast evil with the truth. So I think the correct question is, was this inevitable? But people don't like this question, because it grants us neither the relief that comes from the death of an evil man, nor does it give us the smug satisfaction of resisting the urge to rejoice. We neither get to eat cake and celebrate, nor do we get to claim the moral high ground by shouting, "Peace! Peace!" when there is no peace. We neither get to lie to ourselves and pretend this man was better than he was, nor do we get to cast off his humanity and distance ourselves from him. Asking, "Was this inevitable?" robs us of both vengeance and emotional catharsis. So when the question is asked, those who are rejoicing become frustrated. They feel they are being judged for celebrating the death of an evil man. After all, why shouldn't they take part in the celebration? Why shouldn't they revel in the feeling of relief that comes from the boot being lifted slightly? Those who want to feel self-satisfied by calling for peace become frustrated as well, as they'd rather overlook the harm done and the deaths caused by the evil man. After all, two wrongs don't make a right, and political violence is, at the end of the day, still murder. Those who have convinced themselves the evil man was a hero also leave unsatisfied. It cuts through the delusions of heroism they've built up around the evil man. They want to believe that the things he said and did are good because they want to believe the things they say and do are good. They want to go unchallenged in their faith, and they want to believe that God thinks all the same things they do. They are denied justification for the violence they are itching to commit. These are all easy statements to make for those making them, but they are all also intellectually and spiritually dishonest, because political violence is murder. To say that murder is good is dishonest. It is not good. It takes a human from the world. No matter how evil that human is, it is a reality. The far better option would be for that evil person to repent, to change their ways, to turn themselves towards a path of righteousness. The problem is, they often don't. And an evil man cannot be allowed to continue on with his evil unchallenged. In this way, to rejoice in the death of an evil man is to ignore the sin another person had to commit in order to remove the evil man from the world. That sin has a price. The murderer of the evil man now has to live with that on his conscience. His family, as well as the family of the evildoer, will now have to live with the spiritual, emotional, and political consequences. And there are political consequences, always. History decides how those consequences are perceived. However, to call for peace in such times is just as, if not more, dishonest. It is to call for something that does not exist, and that the evil man has no intention of holding up his end of the bargain to maintain. It is the evil man who has broken the social contract. It is he who has ensured that peace is impossible. The murderer of the evil man and those who rejoice in the evil man's murder are often those who do desire peace, but understand that peace is not possible while the evil man continues to do evil. That is not the responsibility of those who the evil man wishes to do evil towards to maintain an impossible peace. They understand that those who call for peace often do not actually want peace. What they want is quiet. Even more dishonest still is to lionize a man whose words led so many people down a path of hate and destruction, to make him into a martyr in order to satisfy your own ego and violent tendencies. By asking, "Was this inevitable?" we satisfy no party. We allow no one to sit idle in the repeated slogans of their in-group. We force those who wish to rejoice to understand the weight of a life taken. We force those who want to pretend that evil is good to face reality, and we force those who want to seek moral high ground to come to terms with their desire to look away. By telling the truth, we force people to actually think for themselves and decide what they truly believe in. Was Charlie Kirk's murder good or bad? Both, and neither. And we have to sit with that complexity. Not just because a life was ended, but because Charlie Kirk's murder is currently in Schrodinger's cat territory. We have no idea what's going to happen. We have no idea what is to come. We have no clue if this will be a catalyst for war or the cost of freedom. Perhaps it will be both. Perhaps it will simply be forgotten in the endless news cycle. Perhaps Charlie Kirk will be treated as some sort of alt-right martyr. Perhaps his name will be lost to history. That fate is not yet decided, and we have no clue how history will record it. But it was inevitable. If not him, then Matt Walsh, or Ben Shapiro, or Donald Trump, or Nick Fuentes, or J.D. Vance. Because these evil men have created a pressure valve that needs released, and eventually someone was destined to snap. People have been snapping. It was only a matter of time before the snake began to eat its own tail, and the violence Charlie Kirk perpetuated begat more violence. Someone was going to kill one of these men eventually, because this evil has gone unpunished for too long. There have been no consequences, so people are starting to create them. I will continue to pray for Charlie Kirk, because I think Charlie Kirk is in hell right now. I don't know that, but I do believe that, and to say otherwise in a eulogy about honesty would be a bit counterproductive. However, I do not think hell is forever, because I do not believe that a merciful God would punish temporary sin with endless torment. I think hell is like supernatural therapy to sort yourself out before you're eventually reconciled by God. I don't think God sends you to a place of peace or torture as much as God shows you the truth of your heart, and whether that truth is heaven or hell is up to you. So right now, I think Charlie Kirk is having the worst time possible, because Charlie Kirk has just been faced with eternal justice, unrelenting empathy, and divine truth. Charlie Kirk has just realized that heaven is full of a bunch of people and ideas he spent his whole life hating. He has just realized that Christine Jorgensen is in heaven and he is not. That his wife, instead of grieving his loss, has simply carried on and taken up his throne as if he never existed. That he was lost from the world, and all anyone he thought cared about him has done was fight for the space he left and use his passing for political gain. Charlie Kirk has just realized that all he left behind was a legacy of bullshit. And as we speak, I think Charlie Kirk is sitting in a room with a painting of a waterfall, while some bespectacled queer angel says, "So Charlie, tell me about your childhood." I believe that right now Charlie Kirk is clawing at the walls, screaming for God to let him out. And I think the angel is saying softly, "Now, Charlie, that's no way to behave. Have a seat." And both the thought of Charlie Kirk having a terrible time right now and the thought of him eventually being reconciled and repenting and going to heaven are things that bring me an immense amount of joy. I look forward to meeting the Charlie Kirk that could have been had he made better choices, had he chosen to live his life in love and freedom and truth the way Christine did. We have to learn to live in the contradiction. To pray for the evildoer is not to condone their actions. It is to recognize their humanity, to recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person. It is to do the bare minimum when they could not find that in themselves to do that for others. So I will pray, but I will not condemn those who rejoice. And I will ask that those who also wish to pray not use that prayer as an excuse to look away from injustice. Because if you condemn those who choose political violence to achieve their liberation, it is your responsibility to find a more creative solution. And the clock is ticking. If you want peace, you must first find a path towards justice. Otherwise, it is inevitable that that path will be made by a bullet tearing through flesh. But we also must not dehumanize this man, because if we do so, we will not understand the true tragedy of Charlie Kirk's death. Charlie Kirk is a cautionary tale of what happens when you start believing your own bullshit. His story is one of hubris, the story of a man killed by the political pressure cooker he helped to create. And it is unfortunate, because he was young and smart and a good communicator. He could have done something with all that. He could have made the world better than he found it, but he didn't. Even if you liked him objectively, he didn't. He made it worse for a whole lot of people and improved the lives of very few, if any at all. Because Charlie Kirk was not telling it like it is. He was just telling cruel people what they wanted to hear. He was repeating people's cruel thoughts back to them and telling them that they were right to act on them. Charlie Kirk's death is a tragedy because he wasted his life, his talent, all the gifts God gave him, and the system around him rewarded him for that. It gave him money and fame and attention. Charlie Kirk's life was a tragedy because he sold his soul. If there is anyone in this world who tried to serve two masters, it was him. And I began to realize that's why I was grieving Charlie Kirk, because he was given every gift imaginable, and he squandered them all. I grieved the loss of a Charlie Kirk that he himself never allowed to exist. We can't make men into monsters lest we forget our own capacity for monstrous behavior. We have to remember that we are all capable of believing our own bullshit if we lie enough. I understand now that the reason I was weeping for Charlie Kirk was because I didn't want him dead. What I wanted was for him to be a better man than he was. Charlie Kirk was not a hero. He was not a monster. He was just a man. A sad, small, fragile man. And he died the way all of us likely will. Confused and afraid. So Charlie, if you are out there and you can hear me, I am sorry that things turned out this way for you. And I mean that genuinely. I'm sorry that you made the choices you made, and that the young man who took your life made the choices he made. I'm sorry that your wife and children had to experience that, and I hope your community ties were strong enough that people bring them lots of casseroles. I'm sorry that the system failed you, and that you failed so many others. So now, instead of hollow thoughts and prayers, I want to offer a genuine one. Dear Lord, embrace Charlie Kirk with your infinite love and kindness. Show him the truth that he never knew in life. Show him your face so that he may know mercy. Forgive Charlie Kirk of his bullshit, and forgive us for our bullshit as well. Give Charlie Kirk an enlightening time in hell. Give him a warm blanket and group therapy and as many pudding cups as he wants. Help him come to terms with everything he's done and let him know a peace that he denied his earthly siblings. And, if I may be allowed just a bit of shade at the end of this to soothe my petty, selfish soul, fix that ugly fucking mouth of his, both physically and metaphorically. Bring Charlie Kirk into the light, O Lord. Because if there's one thing I've experienced when it comes to you, it is your ability to cut straight through the bullshit. Rest in truth, Charlie Kirk. May your memory be an example of who not to be. Amen. Thank you.
I invite you once again to rise in voice and body and spirit for our last hymn, 170. We are gentle, angry people.
Verses 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
and 5,
yeah, 1,
if
2, 3,
you're
5.
using a hymnal and not
Yeah.
paying attention to the screen. 1, 2, 3, 5. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing for our lives. singing for our lives.
Today's closing words are by Marie Killoran. No matter how weak or how frightened we may feel, we each have our gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, and to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected. Each day, act so you may be a little more whole. So this time,
Let's sing one more time together as we extinguish the chalice and ending our time of memory together.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere.